Alright, well after years and years of making these little clips right here for the first Gen Viragos to help with the starting, where it sounds like a box of rocks and this gear kicks out, we have come to an end of an era because I can no longer get this material anymore. The vendor said they cannot supply that specific little piece of material. Well, this is actually a new revision. Looks very similar to the old one, but it's different in dimension on the ID. So, what are we going to do if folks are still wanting these things, but I can't make them anymore? Well, that's what these are right here because we've come up with Rev 2. Now, the original one, if you got one of these things, you remember that this is a broken one, but you had to put the little nail that came with it in there because it was really hard to push on. And that's because it was perfectly sized to make sure that when you pushed it on, it just did its job and you didn't have to do anything else. Well, I did notice that some people were actually crimping even that one that was tighter. So it made me think, well, if it's easier to put it on, that's a whole lot better. And if folks are thinking to crimp it, well, we might as well crimp it. So we got a new design. Now, we're going to check in a minute on how I can verify that this works exactly the same way, because by now you probably noticed that I'm pretty thorough on checking stuff because I like to make sure things are exactly the same every single time. I'm an engineer. That's what we do for a living. So what we're going to do is actually set up and check this one to make sure it hits the specs of the old one. But I'll show you real quick. All it is just a change in diameter. But the biggest difference, before it was just called a clip clip, now I'm going to call it a crimp clip because it's still a DIY. You can do it yourself. And because you have to crimp it, and a lot of folks may not have this little cutter right here, and it works perfect little size. I got a big old bag of these things, so I'm just going to put one of these in the kit with it versus the nail, and you get a free little toenail clipper looking thing. If you got some really thick toenails, you can clip the toenails with this guy. But for these, they fit really well because they're perfectly sized to be crimped. And so what you do is just slip it on, then you would just squeeze this guy, and it slides over. So now, see, it's loose on there, but that's okay because we're going to crimp it. And when you spread it out over the Bendix, it's going to tighten it up anyway. But we got to hit the specs to make sure this thing is right. So, and most of them, they'll slide on like that right there. Some of them may be a little bit tighter just because of the way the clips are right here. All of these are going to fit this clip. But if the clip is different on your old bike, might be a little bit different shape, you might have to push it on a little bit, but it's still going to be super easy to do. So all you got to do is just put him on there, and you can see I've crimped this one, so you just slip it on. Then this little guy fits right dead to the middle, boop, like that, and then you just give it a little squeeze. Now you don't want to squeeze it a bunch because you probably cut through it because it's copper, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to keep using this. This is 99.9% pure copper. It's like purple copper. And that way, if you accidentally get it too close to the gear, it's just going to grind a little bit of the copper away, but it's not going to damage anything on the bike. So still got all those criteria to make sure this thing is functional and it's not going to do anything wrong if somebody accidentally has it out of position. So we got all that set up. So now what we want to do is look at how to know for sure this guy is going to work the same as my original one. And I'll also show you how to install it on the gear over on the vise. Alright, so over to the vise. Now I've already crimped this one, but you can put it on even after crimping it down. But what I would normally do is slip it on there, put it on there, and then crimp it. But it'll still fit on there. It's just a little bit harder to get on there. But what you got to do is hook that underneath in the vise so it holds it like that. And it's not really pinching it, but you want to hold it so it can't pop up. Then once you got the crimp clip on there, just get a screwdriver up under the back edge of it and tip it upward. Whoop. A little bit bouncy. And you want to tip it upward. Like I say, it's a little tougher once you crimp them. So don't crimp it until you put it on there because you're just going to stretch this thing. And there you go. So we got him on there. And now he is a fully functional crimp clip. Like that. And what it does is increases the resistance of this, and that keeps the gear engaged. So how do I know, like I say, is that the same as it was before? Well, we got a little gauge right here that we had made, and what I'm shooting for, and this is in inches, and if I put it on there and I figure out how many pounds it takes to move it when it's sliding, that's going to tell me how many inch-pounds of torque that it has with the clip on it. So what we got is a 2-pound weight, and so if you see I'm 7 inches out, at a 2-pound weight that would be 14 inch-pounds. At 6 that would be 12, at 5 that would be 10 inch-pounds. So that's right marginal. I'd like to be right in here because that's about where that always was on the other clip clip. So here we go. We're going to set this thing up and I'll show you how to do this. I'll move the camera around and then you'll see, and then I'll take this off and show you what it was originally. You'll see the difference and why this little guy works. Alright, so with the Bendix and the barrel together, so I got something to hold it, all I want to do is install my little gauge and it's going to be able to tell me what the inch-pounds is. So, get him hooked on over the top of the clip, and so what it does is the further out I am, the easier it is to push. So it'll push down, but you can see it sit still. And we want the moving torque. So we want to see what it takes to make it actually move and stay moving, right? So, we'll push that back up. If I was here and it pushed very easily, that would be way too light. So it's not going to do much of anything here in the red area. Here, we're pretty close. Anything out here, it would be so strong that it's probably going to slow down your starter. It's going to overwork your starter. So here's our little sweet spot based on our previous clip clips that we made. So what we need to do is hang a weight on it, and we need to see at what point it'll move it. So if I'm here and it moved it, let's say I'm at 4, so 4 inches away times 2 would be 8 inch-pounds. It's pretty light. So if it was able to move it there and it slide, that wouldn't be enough. So we say we're good there. If we reset and we move up here to say 5, this is right at the margin, so that's about 5 times 2, 10 inch-pounds. So if I move it and it stays moving, then that would be just marginal. It's almost enough that it could do its job, but it's not going to do as good as the original clip. So now let's reset this thing. Push it back on there. And so if I move up to 6 right here, 6 is 12 inch-pounds. So 2 times 6 would be 12 inch-pounds of torque on that little clip. So if I push it now and it moves all the way down, that means that's about what that torque is applying on it. So if I do that, you can see it moves easier, but it still doesn't move, so it won't stay moving. So that's not your moving torque. You know, this thing's rotating the whole time. So we're almost there. So now let's move on up just a little further. And we will go to 7. So this would be 14 inch-pounds worth of torque on this little guy right here. So at 7, when I touch it, see, it goes on down. So it is right about 14 inch-pounds because it went on down and then it stopped. If we do it again, we can see it'll repeat itself pretty good, and sometimes it'll go all the way down. So you can see. So now we know that the torque on this little new crimp clip is right about the same as where we were before. Let me get it level. If we do that, you can see it stops about halfway. So we're right in the sweet spot. So I know for sure that the dimensions that I have on my little clip right there make the same torque that the original clip clip did for the clip clamp. So if we're curious as to what originally, without the little clip on there, why this thing grinds out, let me pop this guy off there. I'm going to use this very same clip, but I'm going to take the clamp off of it, and then I'm going to do this very same measurement, and we're going to see just how much difference it is, because it's not a lot of torque. You know, it's only just a few. It's like 14 inch-pounds is all you need to get this thing to grip, to stay engaged, but it should be different without this little clamp on there, and we're going to see why we had problems with this gear grinding out once they start dulling down. So we'll be back in a second once I cut that little guy off there. And there we go. So now this would be the original setup, and you can see it moves a lot freer. So what we want to do is set this thing up again, and we want to see just what it takes to move it originally, and you're going to see why it makes a difference to have the little crimp clip on there. Alright, so what we got is set up the same way, but we don't have the clip on there. And so now this whole thing's going to fall off because there's nothing holding on. So if we went back to where we were at right about 14, you can see that it won't even hold it up. And so we know that we're much less than what we're looking for, about 14 inch-pounds. So it won't even hold it up at that point. Let me reset it. So then if we go to 12 inch-pounds, you can see it still won't hold it up. So we know that's much, much lower than with our crimper on there. Push that thing back on here a little bit. So now let's go to 10. And we can see at 10, will it hold it up? Oh, just barely. But it falls off really quick and really easy. So we know 10 is way too low. That's what this is originally, and that's why this thing grinds. So now let's move him in a little further. Okay, at 8 it holds it, but if I touch it, will it fall? So there you can see it starts slipping. So it was right about, I'll do that one more time just to verify. Put that back on there, and then we're going to go back to 8 right there. So right at about 8 inch-pounds, it'll hold it up, and if I touch it, it starts slipping. So the original clip without the clip clip is about 8 inch-pounds of torque that holds it on there. So all we're doing is adding another about 6 inch-pounds. So we're almost doubling it. It's okay to about double it. But that's why you'll see that little clip clip works, is because without it, it's very easy to move. With it, it's much harder to move. You're way out here in about the 14 inch-pound range. So there you go. Now we got verified that our new crimp clip over here is going to do the same job as our old one. And so what we'll do is just have that little guy right there in a kit, and instead of having to use the nail to put it on like we had before, that we don't need anymore because it's a lot easier to put on there. Now I'm just going to supply these little guys in the kit. So you get you a little set of crimpers, and you can put it on there and crimp it down, then you can use your little crimpers for something else. So there you go. A new revision to our clip clip, which is now going to be called a crimp clip. It's still a DIY. You can still do it yourself, put it on there. You don't need to buy this guy because it's only weak right here. The rest of the thing works fine, so no need to rebuy that. You just put this little guy on your original one and you're good to go. Should take a lot of that box of rocks grinding stuff off, as we saw in the other videos, and I'll put a link to that original video so you can see it, and we'll be in good shape. Well, alrighty, thanks for watching.